Welcome to this week's Retail Reality Check. We're going to break down all the biggest moves happening right now in retail technology.
Hey, before we dive in, this explainer is brought to you by JustAskGreg.ai. It's a really cool system from IHL Group that basically gives startups, biz dev, and sales teams access to analyst-level insights. Super powerful stuff. You can learn more over at JustAskGreg.ai.
All right, so here's what's on deck. We're going to start with the holiday reality check for consumers, then see how retailers are responding with AI, building smarter supply chains, reinventing the customer experience, and finally, what's happening with the future of fulfillment. Let's go!
Okay, first up, the holiday reality check. This is all about the cautious consumers and rising costs that are really setting the stage for everything else we're going to talk about.
So, a recent study from Deloitte really paints a pretty sobering picture. Brian McCarthy, their retail strategy leader, said this, and it really hits home. This outlook is starting to suggest that we're getting towards the end of that resilience. You know, that resilient consumer we've all been hearing about for the past couple of years? It seems they might finally be hitting a wall. In fact, consumer confidence is at its lowest point since this study started way back in 1997. That's a big deal.
And here's how that actually translates into dollars and cents. Planned holiday spending? It's down a whopping 10% per person. That's a pretty significant drop. It means shoppers are really starting to feel the pinch. They're bracing for higher prices, they're protecting their wallets, hunting for deals, and actually sticking to their shopping lists for a change.
And if that wasn't enough, you've got tariffs adding fuel to the fire, driving up prices on some really key items. Just look at this. Christmas trees are up almost 27%, laptops up 34%, and game consoles, wow, up a massive 69%. So you can see the classic squeeze retailers are in, right? They have rising costs coming from one direction and super cautious customers coming from the other.
So what's the game plan? How are retailers fighting back against all this pressure? Well, a huge part of the answer is the AI-powered response. We're going to look at how they're using AI to get more efficient and really engage with customers. And I'm not talking about just buzzwords. This is AI getting put to work as a real core operational tool.
And man, it is happening everywhere. It's like a flood of practical AI. You've got ASOS using AI stylists to create outfits and win back shoppers. Hibbett is crushing it, boosting email revenue by 46% with AI creative. CVS is using conversational AI to help people figure out their complex health benefits. And it's not just customer-facing. Guitar Center is training its staff with an AI role-playing app, and Puma is letting warehouse managers just talk to their inventory systems in plain English. How cool is that?
This example from HelloFresh is just fantastic. It shows how AI isn't just a generic tool. It's about leveraging a company's own unique data. Their CEO basically said that their massive amount of culinary data is the key. They're feeding it into an AI that can dream up new dishes in just a few hours. I mean, think about that. A process that used to take weeks, maybe even months, is now done in an afternoon. That's a crazy competitive advantage. But you know, all this innovation isn't just stuff the customer sees. There are some absolutely massive shifts happening behind the scenes, in the back end. So let's talk about smarter, greener supply chains, building that resilience and responsibility right into the operations.
Okay, check this out. Auchan Retail over in Europe is rolling out 50,000 of these IBM Smart Green pallets. So picture this. These pallets aren't just dumb pieces of wood. They're lighter, they're recyclable, and they are packed with sensors. They're tracking location, temperature, even if they get bumped around too much, all in real time. So what's the payoff? Well, you get better food freshness, way less waste, and lower emissions. It's a win-win-win.
And of course, we have to talk about Walmart. They're just on another level when it comes to automation and logistics. More than half of all their e-commerce volume is now flowing through automated systems. And get this, 60% of their stores in the US are getting their stuff from automated distribution centers. The scale is just mind-boggling, and it's all about driving down shipping costs and boosting productivity in a huge way.
Now, on the sustainability front, this is really cool. Waitrose in the UK is putting these invisible recycling tags on their milk packaging. So why does that matter? Because for the first time, they can track and actually prove, right down to the individual barcode, that their packaging is getting recycled. It's one thing to say you're green, but this is about closing the loop and backing up those environmental promises with real data.
All right, so we've seen the back end. Now let's bring it to the front of the house and talk about reinventing the customer experience. This is where all that tech hits the store itself, and it's totally changing the game for both shoppers and the employees. You know, a huge theme we're seeing is tech that frees up employees to actually help customers.
This is a perfect example. Look at Lincolnshire Co-op. They switched to electronic shelf labels, so instead of staff manually changing, up to 2,000 price tags a week, it's all instant. That saves them thousands of hours and over £100,000 a year. But more importantly, it means their team is on the floor, helping people, not stuck with a label gun.
And it's not just price tags, there's a ton of activity aimed at modernizing the whole in-store vibe. Primark is trying out self-checkouts that still take cash. Smart. The online brand Bombas is finally opening physical stores. You've got Royal Farms putting Bitcoin ATMs in all its locations, talk about embracing new payment types, and BJ's is using robots to roam the aisles and make sure the shelves are always stocked. It's all about making the store experience smoother and more modern.
Okay, and for our final section, let's talk about the last mile, the future of fulfillment. This is where the race to get stuff to your door faster and cheaper than ever is really heating up, and it's leading to some pretty wild experiments.
So, take a look at Dave's Hot Chicken. They're trying out two different things at once, drone delivery and rover delivery. The drone is insanely fast. We're talking a 15-minute drive becomes a 60-second flight. For hot food, that's a total game changer. The rovers, on the other hand, are built on more proven tech. But each one has its own challenges, right? For the drone, it's how do you automate the food handoff? For the rover, it's dealing with traffic and speed limits. It's fascinating to see them test both.
And listen, this isn't just some little one-off test. Uber is going all in. They're partnering with Starship for a massive global rollout of these little sidewalk delivery robots. It's starting in the UK later this year, and they're planning to be in the US by 2027. So this is happening. It's coming.
And the overall trend is just crystal clear. Retailers are scrambling to get onto these on-demand delivery platforms. You've got Shake Shack using robots for Uber Eats orders. You've got brands you wouldn't even expect, like PacSun, Camping World, and Lush, all now available on Uber. It's all about one thing, the customer's expectation for speed. And that bar just keeps getting raised higher and higher.
Which of course leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. With delivery getting this fast and this smart, what's instant even going to mean tomorrow? When 30-minute delivery feels slow, where do we go from there?
So if we boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's that none of this is random. This isn't just tech for the sake of tech. Every single thing we've talked about, from the economic pressure on shoppers to these incredible tech solutions, it's all part of a huge strategic adaptation. Retail is using technology to evolve and survive in a really challenging new world.
Look, we've really only scratched the surface today. This was just a highlight reel. If you want to go way deeper and get the full story on 40 more of these case studies, you've got to check out ihlservices.com.
Thanks so much for joining us for this week's Explainer. We'll see you on the next one.